Hey everyone, Josh here, WarGamingNewb Historical, back with another WarGamingNewb Builds an Army. We continue on with Hail Caesar, but this time around we're going to go Republican Romans. As with the previous Hail Caesar army build, we are going to use Hail Caesar's army list, biblical and classical, which has all the Roman stuff in it. More specifically for this build, the Republican Romans. As stated in the previous army build, please note that this is geared towards beginners and people who are new to Hail Caesar. So if you're a more experienced Hail Caesar player, go ahead and comment below and let us know what you think about this particular army build in terms of a new person coming into the game using Republican Romans. As with any army build in Hail Caesar, you want to use the specific army restrictions and requirements in order to inform how you build your army. So this time around, Republican Roman, 3rd to 2nd century BC. This is going to cover the Punic Wars, Scipio Africanus, all that fun stuff. So this is going to be slightly different for anybody who has used Imperial Romans, especially those of you who have purchased the Invasion of Britain starter. Those are Imperial Romans. This is the period that predates even the Caesarean Wars. So here's what we're going to be looking at in terms of breakdown. All right, moving on to the army breakdown. 75% infantry, 25% cavalry, with a minimum 4 units per division. Obviously, you can have more than 4 units, but at minimum, you will require 4 different units for your division. In terms of your infantry, you have to have at least 3/4 of your units be infantry other than skirmishers, so skirmishers don't count for the infantry requirement. Even more specifically, Republican Romans have Hastati, Principe, and Triarii as 50% of the infantry. So Hastati and Principe units must be bought in pairs, so for every 1 Hastati unit that you field, you'll have to have 1 Principe unit, and then the Triarii can be included in the ratio of 1 of Triarii for every 2 pairs of Hastati and Principe. So in terms of the army breakdown, you would have 5 units to meet that requirement. 2 Hastati, 2 Principe, and then 1 Triarii. This kind of gives you the feel of the manipular formation, but obviously this is just an adaptation of the historical manipular formation that the Republican Romans used. Moving on to the cavalry, again, 25% of the army can be cavalry. So in a 4-unit division, that would just be 1 unit. But 50% of that cavalry must be light cavalry. You could have skirmisher units like velites included in your army, up to 50% of infantry. So if you have 4 units of infantry, you can have 2 units of skirmishers included. They're just not part of that divisional requirement, that minimal divisional requirement. All right, so we are coming to the troop values, and I've highlighted something specific to the Republican Roman army in the Hail Caesar army list book. Each unit can be fielded as small units. So in terms of small units, you will be fielding the Republican Romans 8 to 12 model units. So a little bit of commentary in terms of someone getting into Hail Caesar and Republican Romans. This is a very cost-effective way of buying into the game, as 1 box or 1 bag of miniatures can actually fill out your divisional requirements quite easily. So obviously you can expand beyond that minimum 4 units, but if you're just starting out and you want to get a feel for the game, this is a very inexpensive buy-in into the game system because, for example, a set like this from Vitrix, which has 60 models, will allow you to field quite a few small units, and in fact possibly give you enough to make a full division without even adding cavalry, because this will also include your skirmishers. All right, going back to the troop values, again, I've highlighted the fact that your Hastati and Principes can be fielded as small units, as well as your Triarii. Again, 8 to 12 models, very inexpensive buy-in. This also extends out to your skirmishers and to your light cavalry. In terms of cavalry, the small unit will be 6 to 8. If you were to purchase the Vitrix Republican Roman Cavalry set, you have the option of building this into two 8-man squadrons of small unit cavalry, or even three even smaller unit cavalry at 6 models per unit. As you can see, the Republican Roman army is a great way to get started in Hail Caesar. Your initial model buy-in, build, and paint won't be as arduous as, let's say, the Greek hoplite army, which will require you to build up more models for one unit. This will allow you to get into Hail Caesar a lot more quickly. What we're going to do now is go to my model breakdown. I don't have everything assembled, but I'm going to show how I'm building my first division for my Republican Roman army in Hail Caesar. So stay tuned for that. Alright guys, here it is. The makings of my first division for my Republican Roman army, Hail Caesar. So it's taking me a little time to get it, but I'm going to show you a breakdown of how I'm building this army. So first off, we have 2 stands of Hastati here, but because I don't have Republican Romans set 1 from Vitrix, which has the Romans in heavier armor, I'm actually going to do a little bit of finagling to get this to be a Republican Roman division for Hail Caesar. First off, let me just bring this up. This is a stand of 8. Each stand will have 8 Republican Romans on them. As you can see, I'm missing 2 here because I'm still trying to determine, and I'm going to explain this in a little bit, what my plan is. All right, then we have this stand, which will have the yellow shields and the beige tunic. So these 2 stands here, let me zoom in. These 2 stands here, this one and this one, will be Hastati and Principe. Let me zoom back out here. So we're going to have possibly this one with the centurion with the flared feather headdress be the Principe unit. So that means I will probably either fill in the last 2 remaining spots on that stand with trumpeter and the signifer. And then this stand here will be the Hastati, since their tunics are kind of like an off-white beige, and I've given them yellow shields to denote that they're going to be a different type of unit for this formation. So Principe, Hastati, and then the way you have it is that for every 2 stands of Hastati and Principe, then you can have a stand of Triarii. Let me see if I can get this to focus. There we go. So Triarii are the most experienced Republican Roman soldiers in the maniple formation, and they're denoted to have the longer spear, kind of like what the Greek hoplites use. This is just kind of a remnant of when the Romans use hoplite formation. So again, you have 2 stands of Hastati, 2 stands of Principe, and then you'll have 1 stand of Triarii. These 5 stands will be the basic formation for this particular division, because the minimum division for Hail Caesar is 4, and then you'll have 5 stands. And then lastly, and let me get these out here. We'll move this so I can zoom in. Okay, I'm going to zoom in. Yeah. So these guys are your skirmishers. These are the velite or velite, depending on how you pronounce it. So these don't count towards the division. So you can have up to 50% of your main infantry have skirmishers. So in this case, I would have 5 units of infantry. I can have 2.5, but really 2 units of skirmishers. However, for this first formation, I'm only going to go with 1 unit of skirmishers. I'll have to add a few more to make this a full unit of velites. So that is the main portion of this division. Let me move these guys out of the way. But I'm thinking of adding cavalry to to this particular division. So as stated in the rules for this division, you can have up to 25% cavalry, because the rest of it, 75% infantry. So I was thinking of doing a small stand or a small unit of cavalry, so that would be 6 cavalrymen here. And then that would be the division. So let me move these guys back. Kind of into the manimal formation that we're going to form here. Sorry guys, I want to just arrange this in such a way that it would denote a maniple, at least in terms of Hail Caesar. Alright, so again, in this division, you need to have 2 Hastati, so I'm obviously going to be working on that, 2 Principe, and then 1 Triarii unit. And then you can have your skirmishers, if you guys can see that. Let me push this back right there. And then obviously you can add another unit, or you can add as many units as you want. But for me, because I'm starting a little smaller, I'll probably just add a half squadron of cavalry. And then that'll be my first division for Republican Romans. It would be a lot different if I had the Republican Roman 1 set from Vitrix, the heavily armored legionnaires, because then I could separate these into just Hastati and then have the chainmail heavily armored legionnaires as Principe and Triarii. So anyway, hopefully that wasn't too confusing. I know I was rambling a little bit. I just kind of wanted to show what I'm doing to build up my Republican Roman army, sans the more heavily armored legionaries. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and click like. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, I appreciate it if you would. Click the bell notification icon to get notified of all new army builds coming out of the channel, and then click the link in the description below to join our Discord server. That is the best way I can personally interact with you and chit-chat you about Hail Caesar and any other game that we cover on the channel. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more WarGamingNewb builds an army from WarGamingNewb Historical.